All right, well, welcome to a live YouTube event. My name is Brent Sheppard, and I'm coming to you live from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And I have the wonderful joy of interviewing my older brother about two very important ventures. One is Pacific Solo. We're going to talk about sailing. Man, he's on a learning curve, huge learning curve. Only started sailing 2 years ago. His goal is to sail solo across the Pacific Ocean next year, and to go to a place called Nemo North, the farthest point, a name he created from land, and also draw attention to the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a huge issue in these times in which we live. Then we're going to talk about, I love this, a book he wrote called Never Too Late, and the coming up launch of the Never Too Late Academy. I consider myself a never too later, as does Lowell, and so we're going to be asking him a few questions, and I'm going to interrogate him a little bit. Going to try and, lead him down a certain road to talk about this horizon with Pacific Solo, but also the Never Too Late Academy. And a little later, we might even reveal an anonymous contributor to his book that wrote him a very brutal and honest when Lowell said to, sent a bunch of people to ask their thoughts. What do you think about this idea, this book, Never Too Late? 10 tips to change the course of life. And one guy was brutally honest and felt it wouldn't help him at all. He was a young man with a mortgage and kids, and how can he possibly chase his dreams? We might get a chance to get permission to reveal who that was, because a lot of people have been asking Lowell over the years. But first, we're going to get into Pacific Solo. So I'm looking for my brother. Lowell, are you there?
I'm coming on. There I am.
There you are.
Hey, nice hat.
Okay, well, listen, I got the gray one. Do you want me to put the white one on?
Put the white. No, take it off because it hides your eyes.
It hides my eyes. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
So where are you right now on Wahine?
Wahine and I are in Uwajima. Pardon me. You're on the west coast of Canada.
Yep.
I'm on the west coast of Shikoku. It's an island I visited. The first and only other time before was by bicycle 21 years ago when I cycled from Kyushu to Hokkaido chasing the cherry blossom. But I cycled the southern route. But now I'm up in kind of northern area, beautiful, beautiful coastline in a quirky town of Uwajima. And one of the quirky things about it is it's famous for its bullfighting. But it's not the Spanish kind where it's men and bulls fighting. It's bulls fighting each other. I haven't seen it, but also they have motorcycle festivals here, and I saw a group of about 50 motorcyclists coming through this morning. So that's where I am, Uwajima.
Another question I was trying to remember today: how many books have you written, Lowell, overall and published?
In total, about 9. Some of them were by commission, and they were kind of internal books. But with my publishers, I think it comes out to about 8. And one of the books was called Chasing the Cherry Blossom. Another one was called Boys Becoming Men. That actually was written 20 years ago, but it went into French just last year. And then, of course, Never Too Late, which went into 4 languages: Russian, Portuguese, French, and English.
Wow.
And that's become my manual. That I've been rereading that lots the last 2 years.
I've read it 3 times now. At various chapters of my life, every 5 to 10 years, I reread it. I love the book. The tips have come in handy to help me chase new horizons. And just a little tidbit, I don't mean to embarrass you, but your writing career actually started in San Antonio. Lowell was in grade 12 in San Antonio, and his English professor gave the entire class a year-long assignment to write a 10,000-word thesis on anything you want. And Lowell wrote about Chinese astrology. Why did you choose Chinese astrology?
To be frank, I didn't know what to write about. And I asked my teacher, I don't know what to write. I was kind of, classic high school student. And he said, write about Chinese astrology.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So that gave me 12 points.
And how long did you have to write that 10,000-word essay? Was it the whole year?
I think it was 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months? And now
that was in San Antonio, Texas.
Don't be humble, but if I recall, that essay got top marks out of those 200 or 300 students.
I think I won an award for it, and I got a special award from the principal, and I think it was mostly because I was the only Canadian there. They thought I'd moved from an igloo to come down to Texas, and I think they were just trying to treat me special.
So, folks, that's my older brother. He's the academic in the family. His older sister and my older sister, we're both kind of the, I don't know what we would call us, but Lowell's always been a student and a good teacher because he's a good student. And I think that essay actually ended up in the University of San Antonio archives at some point, if I recall. But Lowell doesn't. That's theatrical. Let's talk about Pacific Solo.
Okay.
I've got 5 questions for you. And
Okay.
I remember when and you've always done this, you floated ideas by your peer group, your colleagues. And I remember you said everybody was very supportive, except one guy, I think it was a lawyer, who said, Lowell, you know what? That's the stupidest idea ever, to sail solo across the Pacific. And then he said, but go for it. So how did you come up with, and you've always chased horizons, always been looking at new things, but how did you come up with that particular idea?
Okay. So just before I answer that, I just want to give a shout out to a great man who's been a great friend and supporter, who has faced his own adversities, and he just recently passed away. And right at this moment in time, friends of his are gathering in Nagoya to remember his life, to celebrate. So I just want to say, Big John, you're missed. And Big John was a supporter of everybody and their dreams, a great supporter of hope. He was Santa Claus for a lot of kids in literally at Christmas time. He put on the costume, and we called him Big John because he was big, but he had a big heart, big intellect. So I just want to say, honor John and dedicate this to him. And he has always been a supporter of my craziness, quirkiness, as he's been with other people's. So specific to your question, I was looking for another challenge that would be transformative. My biggest challenge had been riding my bicycle from Kyushu to Hokkaido, chasing the cherry blossom. For 2 years before that, I worried about it. I fell asleep every night dreaming about it. I fretted about it. I wondered whether I could actually change a puncture on a tire. And then I did the journey itself, and I chronicled it. I had a book contract with Lion Publishing in England, in Oxford, and it was transformative. It was spiritual in texture. And I've had many physical challenges since, but nothing matched that one. I've ridden through tiger country in Cambodia. I've done Japan coast to coast by bicycle the long way around with my dog. That was 5,000 kilometers spread over three phases over 3 or 4 years. But nothing matched that one. And alongside that, I actually have always loved sailing, but I'm not, as you said, an experienced sailor. I sailed lasers and dinghies as a teenager. One time we sailed for a week off the Greek islands, Candy and I. But I'd always dreamed of having a boat and living on a boat and crossing an ocean. But I gave up on that dream when I came to Japan because it seemed too expensive, too opaque. And then I discovered the Tokyo Sail and Power Squadron, who provide English courses for people in Japan to get their boat license in English. So I took the course, got my license, and it kind of opened up the world of sailing to me. And I realized it's not as expensive as I thought, still jolly expensive in many ways. And I was kind of naive to think it wasn't that expensive, but I kind of got brought into the sailing world. And that's when I began to think about my next challenge. And some ideas, when you get them, some dreams, when they come, they're immediately robust. They're strong, they're sturdy. You can blurt them out, and you will do it, and everybody else around you know that you will do it. Then there are other ideas that are fragile, and they have to germinate for a time because you're not even certain yourself. And such was the case with the Pacific Solo Dream. I kept it to myself because I thought, really? You really want to cross the Pacific Ocean by yourself? Why? I kept asking myself, why? And the whys were a multitude of whys. the most, using the word quirky again, the most kind of idiosyncratic one was I want that moment of solitude in the middle of the ocean. And as Immanuel Kant said, nothing evokes more reverence and awe than looking up and looking within. And I've added a third to that. I want to be in a place where I can look up and consider the expanse above, the mysteries within, and the terrors below. And that notion, very intimate and private, became the compelling one for me. Then, of course, I'm an environmentalist, so I want to see the garbage patch. History Channel and I started to talk. They'd like to kind of document my trip going over. I want to inspire my grandson, Eli. And quite accidentally, I found that I've kind of become a help and a resource and inspiration to many others who began calling themselves, yourself included, they said, we're never too later like you. So I shared it then with Candy first, and then family, and then close friends. And each time I shared it, it got stronger, and it's kind of taken over my life. And it's an awfully selfish thing to do in many ways, and my family's wonderfully supportive. Anyways, that's where the idea came from. It was a journey to it. Then it was very private, and then I tested it out with those to whom I hope I mean the most to, including friends.
You answered the second question, why solo? And man, I get that, because I have solo hiked all through BC, just being my dog sometimes. And you just got to get away from the clutter and the noise of life and hear that inner voice again. And again, the big thing, well, let me ask you a question from your book. What I loved about your book is you talked about sometimes you go down a cul-de-sac. You get an idea and you go that way, and you just have to turn around and head back out and try another way. Have you had any of those experiences?
Oh, yeah. I mean, many. This has been, I'm a rookie sailor. I've been amazed by the support of the sailing community, including my now buddies in Tokyo Sailing Power Squadron and the many Japanese sailors I meet. And at first I was scared what their response would be, because it's pretentious. These guys have been sailing for years, and some of them are women and so much more experienced than me. So I've had to learn a lot. And even the upgrades of the boat and learning, I've had to make mistakes. But probably the biggest turnaround so far is I moved the date up. Initially, it was to be before I was 70. I announced this when I was 64. My mate, Andrew Silverman, came to my birthday party where I made this announcement, and he rewrote the words to the song "When I'm 64." And then I thought before I was 70, but then a few months ago, I decided I'm going to try to do it in 21, because, as you know, our mother is in a care home, been in isolation. And so I set out from Tokyo in March, attempting to do kind of a stress test sail to Okinawa and back to see how prepared I was. And I got as far as Nijima. I'm guessing, nearly 100 nautical miles from Tokyo, a couple hundred kilometers. And there I realized, and then I boarded my plan to go to Okinawa. I went 30 hours to Mie-ken instead through the night. It was after that shakedown cruise, I realized I wasn't ready and the boat wasn't ready. And so I let my sponsors know, and friends and family know, and my support team. And I think without exception, they were all relieved.
Yes, we were.
And you're on it. And that idiot finally came to his senses. So now I'm sailing Japan, and what a wonderful coastline to sail. And it's so rewarding. And one of my senpais, Kirk Patterson, who like me took up sailing later in life off the west coast of Canada, then he soloed the opposite direction, coming to Japan. And now and now he's the first foreigner to circumnavigate Japan. So he's helping me a lot, which the port I'm in right now, he recommended I come here. So, but that was a pivot. I had to change direction.
A turnaround and go the other way.
Cul-de-sac.
Attack.
Yeah.
It's a really good illustration, example of what you say in the book, is sometimes you head down a path and nope, got to turn around and go the other way and figure it out something else. So I have two
But
more
it doesn't
questions then
mean the
about
ultimate
that.
goal.
Is what
Yeah.
what does Candy think and what does Eli think? And I think Tiff's got a picture. Throw up, maybe. There's Candy and Eli at the trout farm.
Oh, at the trout farm. That was a much younger Eli.
That's quite a while ago. Great kid.
Well, you know, one of my early episodes on the YouTube channel was the top 10 questions I'm asked. And the number one question is, what does Candy think? And my answer is, well, you have to ask her. All I can say is that despite the incredible selfishness of what I'm doing, she's amazing. She supports me in it. I think she may brag about me at times. When I go home, and I'm going actually back to Nagoya right after this ends for 36 hours to get my first jab. And this morning she emailed me with the things I have to do when I'm home, including fixing the shed roof out back, which is great. But family has been supportive, despite me being very absorbed in this self-centered initiative.
Okay, we're going to come back to that because you said that to me several times, and I want to just talk about that. But I also want to talk if Tiffany could put up the picture of Mom, one of your most.
There she is. There she is.
Sorry, folks, but that's our Mom.
Yeah, all of our quirkiness is blamed on her and her mother.
Yep.
Gigi. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, she's 93 now, and her heart, everything's fine, but she has struggles with memory, and that's why Lowell wants to come and hopefully even come before you sail over and see her. But she's our mom. And
like you,
Faith has been doing a great job as Mom's primary caregiver. Faith, if you're watching, thanks for all you're doing for our mom. Yeah. Getting in there.
Candy just posted a comment, and she says, "I'm living my dream now. I would never rob him of living his."
Beautiful.
There you go. That's love. And let me say about my mom, like you, I try to phone her every day. It's not always possible. And for a time, a few months ago, every day, kind of the same repetition. Where are you? When are you coming? I'm coming by boat. We have to repeat it all. And then, but the one time she asked me, when you come by boat, can I come on your boat? And I says, of course, Mom. I want you to come have dinner with me on my boat. And she said, oh, dinner. What shall I wear? She asked. And I said, well, it'll be summertime. It's a boat. So come with a bikini. To which she replied, she said, oh, dear, I don't want to bury my son at sea. She's got a great sense of humor. She's
always had a great sense of humor. Okay, then the last question. And this is something in your book that just and you were very transparent about it in one of your YouTube things. But let's talk about the money involved here, because you have sunk a lot of your own savings into it, and you have people that are helping you as sponsors. And how are you dealing with that? I'm a guy who doesn't like debt and don't like, I'm not a risky adventure guy when it comes to money. But how are you able to afford this? And I also want to add, you say this is a selfish venture, Lowell. You have raised millions of dollars to help the poor and the marginalized all over the world. You deserve this time. You deserve this chapter. And I remember when the tsunami hit Japan 10 years ago now, we just had the anniversary. I've never seen you so burnt out, because you were commissioned by the guys you work with, your inner circle, just to go north, and they gave you the resources you need. And like you did, you just jumped in there. So when you say this is selfish of you, I don't think it is. But how are you handling the financial side of it?
Well, in my book, Top 10 Tips to Change the Course of Your Life, Never Too Late, which has become my manual, I address this issue. One of the tips is on money. And I say money matters, but not as much as you think. So for this particular challenge, when I was talking with one of my advisors, experienced sailor, this is before I even bought Wahine, we were doing researching for boats. He was saying, what are you thinking of spending? And I said this, and then he said, well, multiply that 3 times. And the numbers kept going higher and higher. And he said, it's going, plan on $130,000 for the boat. Whether you buy cheap and upgrade or buy one fully equipped, that's going to be the minimum for an offshore, ocean passage. And I gulped. And then he said, but Lowell, there's no shame in walking away. If you can't afford it, that's fine. Just go do a dream you can't afford. To which, I don't know how verbal I was, but I certainly thought it was, no. It's true, I cannot afford it, but I'm not going to allow the lack of money to stand in the way of achieving this dream. And so I had to make it happen. And to be frank, I didn't sink in part of the savings. I sunk in all the savings and my very small pension from Canada. I came off a salary, and we hired somebody new, a great man, Jeffrey Behr, to lead Hope International in Japan. I now continue with Hope as a board member and as a volunteer fundraiser. But I knew that I knew the Pacific solo would never be solo. And there's a community around this cause that humbles me. And they're my patrons. I have 14 people who support me every month to make the YouTube channel possible. I have sponsors at all kinds of varying levels. My two premium sponsors are UFC Gym Japan and Green Rock Hemp Holdings, who are not companies I cold called. These companies are owned by friends of mine who have entrusted me with a lot of their money over the years through Hope. And so, this is different. They're not donating. They're getting some marketing bang back from it. And then, Tokyo Supercars was one of the early, they approached me. They wanted to get involved. And so they came in, and many others, including my solar panels and my sleep sponsor, Dormeo, Versa, our good friend Julian Carlson in Canada, and Andrew Westlund has been a big supporter in so many ways, and he's another never do later. So it's an old adage, and it can sound lightweight when you say it, but it's so true that where there's a will, there's a way. And you and I were bred by the same father, and you remember, perhaps Brent, I remember specific occasions where we'd be driving someplace down a highway, and he would say, next year at this time will be Mexico or Europe. And I just think, what? Like, where did that come from? And he was a preacher. He had no money. Next year we were there. And there's something about, again, it's when the idea germinates and you have confidence. And I don't want to be overly esoteric about it, but there's something about imagining something first, a dream that percolates to the surface. Then when you pronounce it, it creates a momentum in the direction of that dream. And finances should not be what holds people back. And I know this guy who wrote me in my book, Angry, Never Too Late, which I published with his permission. And he said, it's fine for you. I can't afford it. Everybody can afford their dream. And in my book, I also talk about not being greedy. You don't need as much as you thought. And also I have a point that says going first class can be second rate. My bike ride up Japan, I had 10 kilos of baggage. Every night in the bed and breakfast, I would lay everything out on the floor, 2 pairs of underwear, 2 shirts, etc. And there was joy in that simplicity. And you're living in a tiny house now in the mountains. So you know what that's
Well,
like.
we are. And, it's an old sacred adage that where there is no vision, the people perish. And where there's vision, people are nourished. And, you got this vision. And like when Dad said, hey, we're going to be in England in a year, and a businessman stepped up and bought our 5 tickets, and just people want to believe in something that's bigger than themselves. They want to know that they contribute. And and I think that's what happens when someone shares a vision, is willing to risk a vision and take a step forward. And I'm reading that letter that guy wrote. That the first thing he wrote, he said, Lowell, everything I want to do requires money. I can't afford to dream or live large. And I know that guy's doing a lot better these days.
Well, and that guy said, don't tell anybody this is me. Because I also know that guy's wife, and he said, my wife doesn't even know I'm writing this.
Yeah.
Now, since then, I think he's talked to his wife. But, and I've got permission from that guy to reveal who it is at the end of this.
Okay, then we'll talk about him, and I'll read a few more of his quote, because it was brutally honest, and you put all the dialogue in there. Your email back to him about, your message scares me, and your life is in your hands.
I thought he was suicidal. I thought this guy's
well, I think somebody have asked you, is this guy still alive? But he replied, no, I would never do that to my family. But he was so despondent, feeling, and we'll go back to a statement I'll read. I can read this from your own words in your prologue, was how you were in England in your 30s, a workaholic, your health was deteriorating, and you literally said the words, I felt trapped. And you talk about midlife crisis. And that's where this guy was, I believe. Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there that young men right now that feel that same way, with pandemic and cost of living going up, and just living day to day, month to month. And I like the quote from City Slickers, one of my favorite movies about midlife crisis, when Billy Crystal just says to his wife, I just feel lost. What do you say to that guy?
Well, lost is the key word, and lost means you don't know where you are and you don't know what your bearings are. And I think it's at that point. I was talking to a young man here on this boat a few days ago, 20 years old, and he doesn't know who he is, where he's going, what he wants to be, and he's lost. And that's normal. Many 20-year-olds, I was kind of lost as well. But I also remember when I was 20 years old, and again when I was 30, at that time of feeling trapped, I probed deep. And I say this in the book, and I remembered the visions I had of myself as a kid. I saw myself as a pilot. I saw myself as a writer. I saw myself as crossing oceans. I saw myself as leaving legacy and doing good. And those things still bring me a tingle. And, as you know, I was a pilot for a time and spent a year in Mexico as second pilot, and I got that out of my system. So I never want to fly small airplanes again. I realized that dream. I realized the dream of writing books. But now there's still some things on the horizon that draw me. So to somebody who feels they're lost, I think, no, you got to find a bearing. Then you're not lost. Find what your point of reference is. See what your compass says. Search for your North Star. North Star will show you where you are. You aren't lost anymore.
So the next thing I just want to, before we wrap up in a bit here, is the Never Too Late Academy. Where did that idea come from? To actually take this book then and make it possible for people to get some tangible instruction and encouragement. I mean, for me, and I love what you said, your support team, your shore support guys, I'm just so impressed with those guys. I met the guys briefly at the Tokyo Power Squadron when I was there a year and a half ago. And just a huge part of this journey is the people that you've reached out to and that are following you and supporting you. But the Never Too Late Academy, what's that all about, Lowell?
Yeah, so, it has something to do with death. I don't mean to be morbid.
The older we get.
10 years ago, I nearly died twice in 1 year. I was actually sick 3 times. I got dengue fever, which was not life-threatening. Then I got stung by a bee, and it took them 4 attempts to bring me back. I was unconscious within 4 minutes. And then I had deep vein thrombosis. And my colleagues in Hope are saying, oh, if you were in Cambodia or Ethiopia when this has happened, you'd be a goner. So everybody, and I'm out riding bikes all the time, etc. And I was advised by some, you got to change your lifestyle. Don't put yourself at risk. But then my good friend and mentor, David McKenzie, who is the international president for Hope, he said to me, Lowell, I'm speaking as a friend, not as your boss. But if you're going to die doing something. Don't die doing nothing. And that liberated me. And because I'd faced death, I actually realized I wasn't afraid of death as much as I was before. And so this dream I have is, to quote somebody else, the fear of not doing it is now greater than the fear of doing it. I must do it, and I believe it's never too late. And as I've embarked upon this journey, unintentionally, although I do want to inspire and inform, and I was really thinking of my grandson's generation, Eli, to leave him a legacy so he could look back one day and say, yeah, my grandpa did that. I wanted to stay in his life for a long time. But along the way, it turned out, and as evidenced by the analytics that the YouTube algorithm gives me about my channel, I'm 98.6% of my viewers are men between the ages of 40 and 65 plus.
Wow.
Yeah. And many of them are for sailing. They come to say, want to watch sailing, but a lot of them are calling themselves never too laters. And they're attracted to the idea that here's this guy who doesn't know much about sailing at all, and he's going to do something believing it's never too late, and they're drawn to it. So I've been getting email messages, direct messages, comments, and offering a lot of advice. And then I realized, I should just try to get all of this stored into some format that can help people through their process of realizing a dream. So in talking to some colleagues and collaborating with others, and think of my good friend Mark McBennett in London, whose life is spent within algorithms because his business is totally online, and he's much more tech savvy than me. And then talking to some very close friends who are helping me do this, we decided to set up the Never Too Late Academy, and basically provide resources and courses, some free, some will have to be paid for, and to help people realize their dream. And so we're launching it. I want to officially announce it. That has a July 1st, Never Too Late Academy website is up, and the first course is pretty well done, and it's a free course, and it's basically me revisiting my book, Never Too Late, and then adding some extra materials to it. And
lost you there.
For more information about the Never Too Late Academy, we'll send you that course completely free, no obligation. And then there's another course coming with about 40 units of 6 modules that we'll be doing a beta offering. We want some people to see it, pardon me, and give us their feedback. And there I'll be dealing with issues such as fear, opposition, pivots. A whole module will be on how do you pay for it. And so I'll just share with what I've learned, how I've gone about getting sponsors, patrons, media attention, which none of that I've actually sought. It's been easier than I thought, because I explain all that in the course. And then also, I think what I love to do, and have always done with Hope as well, is building a community around a cause. As I said, Pacific Solo is not solo. So one of the modules for that course we'll be offering in a few weeks' time, Daring to Realize, will be how do you build community? And it'll be very practical in terms of this, how you set up an Instagram account, and here's the pitfalls for Facebook and advantages. I've been hacked twice on Facebook recently, so I'm a bit disillusioned with their customer service at the moment.
Well, one of your initiatives.
My grandson just said hi.
Oh, hi, Eli. Miss you, buddy.
And thank you for all the comments coming through. I'm reading them all as they appear. Yeah, and Yeah, Gloria Spratt, and the Robin story, and Behr, Ragnar, McQueen Flash. Yeah, never too laters. So that's what the Academy is about. I just want to make resources available. And I'm talking to some other people who may do some modules in the future of it's never too late at work. It's never too late for love. My focus is on realizing dreams. But if you sign up today on the Academy, just to get on the mailing list, I'll send you the 10 tips to change the course of your life, which I recorded right here. It's not really that professional video recording, but I read from the book and give updates. And there's a lot of PDF worksheets in that as well.
Well, I mean, as you know, when I was in Japan and you took me to breakfast with all your friends, that breakfast club group, and I'll never forget, I think it was Mike asked me, so Brent, what about you? Oh, I said, my wife and I just downsized to 5 acres. And I realized as soon as I said it, how stupid that was. This is where my wife and I are at. And the banker fellow next to me says, Brent, we can put 100,000 people on 5 acres in Tokyo. You downsize from 1,000 acres? And what I meant by that is I've got a wonderful wife, my wife Tracy. We just celebrated 76 years of marriage, 38 years each. And she's with me on this. And we just sold our home in the Vancouver area. And as you know, bought 5 acres of raw land and put in an RV site, brought power online. We harvest water. We have an outhouse. We have no plumbing. And we have a little tiny house that we built with the help of all our family, including my daughters. And it's just been a real venture. It's only 200 square feet, this little tiny house, which is probably the size of most Tokyo condos. I've been to Mackenzie's place and Ryan's place, and not very big. But I'm so blessed to have a partner in Tracy that is right there with me. And we sit there and we say, I love this place. And we feel peace there. And we're still working in the Vancouver wedding industry. And I'm using that as a segue because I think it's time I want to read the letter that guy wrote you, just the 20-point thing. Can I do that real quick?
Yeah, can I just read a comment from,
do it.
I want to highlight some of these comments. Doug Strobbe, thank you. You've always been a great supporter. But Harry Hill, my good friend Harry Hill, who's president of UFC Gym, and they're my fitness sponsor. One of my oldest friends in Japan, on the board with Hope. And I just thank you, Harry, for what you say. Lowell, the purpose for you with Hope has always been helping others. This time is your mission is for people to help themselves. And that's really, never too late Academy is I want to help people help themselves realize their dreams. Thanks, Harry. Yeah. Okay. So big reveal. There is this guy who wrote me and it really worried me. And I'd like you to read a bit more of what he wrote me in my Never Too Late book.
I'll paraphrase it. Because again, you were researching this book and you wrote a number of trusted individuals for ideas. And this guy wrote you 20 things. He said, Lowell, everything I want to do requires money. I can't afford to dream or live large. I'm married to a woman who's just wonderfully content to sit and drink coffee. I'm a dreamer whose dreams have died. I have reached for the brass ring, seen it up close, fallen short. I'm afraid I'm going to become a bitter old man. Life has taught me I can't trust anyone, including myself. I'm in constant conflict. I don't know who I am. I'm lost without hope for me, my family, the world. I am bored. Most days I don't want to live anymore. Life is a cruel joke. This poor guy. He says, I feel trapped and I see no use in life or living. I had more regrets than hope. I have made stupid choices. I tried but cannot seem to reach contentedness. I'm angry at myself and I had a map. It was the wrong one.
Yeah, and that was so depressing to read, but he wrote it wonderfully succinct. And as you read it now, I'm going to take some of those points and address them in the course of Daring to Realize Your Dream. The great news is that guy now has a dream and he's living it. And you're going to reveal who it was, or I reveal who it is?
Oh, I think you got permission from the guy to tell who that
okay, so was. The guy who wrote me that was the guy interviewing me right now, Brent.
Yeah,
and it's a younger version of this bearded wonder with glasses you see now, and it shook me when I read it because he's my brother and I love him. But it's been so great to see your journey since. And you read my book, not that was the catalyst, but I know you and I have engaged a lot about the subject matter of that book, Never Too Late. And it's great to see you and Tracy realizing your dream. And it was a big risk moving from the West Coast up to Behr country. And you've recently had 49-degree weather and the heat wave. It's dangerous in the summer, not just dangerous in the winter. So good on you.
We're surrounded by forest fires up there right now, so it's a bit scary. But that guy who wrote that was just a young man living day to day, raising a family. And I think what brought that guy, me, through it was, first of all, family, you and Faith, and my wife and my children. And for everybody who's listening, I can just only pray that you have the same kind of wonderful support group. And if you don't, believe me, they're out there. Go find them. There are people who love you and believe in you, and want you to succeed, just like Lowell wants to help you, better yourself and pursue your dreams and your horizons. What else should we talk about? Oh, there's a picture that Faith Tracy put up of us in our family.
Yeah, these pictures are new to me. We shouldn't bore people with pictures of our family.
No.
We're not bringing out the family photo album. And just to comment, Harry's commented, yes, but he's not so old. He is younger than me. I grant him that. No, I just want to, thank everybody for supporting me so far. You can follow me on the boat by going to the website, pacificsolo.com, and click on the button that says, "Where's Wahine?" Wahine is the name of the boat, which is Hawaiian for woman, and you'll see the tracker where we are. You can, if you're interested in supporting the YouTube channel, then you can write me for more information or become a patron. But most of all, I'd love it if you all could just go over to the Never Too Late Academy. I'll put it in the description of this live feed, and just get your name and address registered. You'll get an email from me, and in a few days' time, I'll send you the course, totally free, 10 tips to change the course of your life. And then you'll be kept informed of future courses, both free and ones that you may have to pay a bit for. So I just want to do what I can to help it.
Course.
Yeah, that's the free course.
Yeah. The free course.
And there'll be that slide will stay on afterwards where you can write down, but it's nevertoolate.com. No. Nevertoolateacademy.com. Never Too Late Academy. So if you're a Never Too Later, join me and let's form a community of Never Too Laters and help each other.
And if you haven't yet, and you probably, most of you people are watching have subscribed to your YouTube channel. How many subscribers do you have now watching?
I'm just over 2,000. I was advised to grow it a solid way, to take a year to get the first 1,000.
Yep. Which
it did. It took 13 months, and I got added the second 1,000 in 4 months. And just pleased to see that that it's not for everybody. It's a sailing channel, but it's also an old guy trying to learn how to sail and facing some scary moments. But moving on, because and someone just talked about fear here a little bit earlier. I forget who it was, but I'm often asked, "Are you scared?" And I said, "Of course I'm scared, but I don't see fear as an enemy. I see fear as a companion." And by working out your relationship with that companion, allows you to be propelled forward. Without fear, there's no life. You're not on the edge. You have no map, etc. So taking risk is what it means to be human.
And you're taking a big risk, you're training, but you're training well. On behalf of your shore support team, thank you for postponing it a year. And I'll put that. This is Lowell and I. We talk about this a bit, and I'm always in his face about it. Lowell needs a desalinator. We had talked about you getting a desalinator on board Wahine. You would have freshwater tanks in there, but we'll save maybe that for another broadcast to see how things are going, because you're getting your radar, your VHF. How's your the new control you put in, the autopilot?
Oh, the auto helm is working good.
Good.
The radar's working good, although a few days ago I was stopped at sea by the Coast Guard, and it was the radar that particularly attracted their attention. So that was kind of an interesting, tense experience. My friend Captain Hiro in Tokyo bailed me out yet once again, dealing with the authorities. This was the 5th time I've had an engagement with the Coast Guard. 3 times were inspections. One time was them just chatting generally. And I was asking, where's a good place to go get a bath? And then one time is when they came to me and said, can we shoot a video on your boat of us giving you a safety lesson? I said, yes. But this was the most aggressive, where I saw them tracking me, and then they hailed me on the loudspeaker system, said they were coming alongside, and they were pointing radar. But it was okay. So I'm having to learn a lot about Japanese bureaucracy. And I'm on there.
What you're navigating there is beyond my Canadian mind. But you're doing it wisely, and you want those guys on your side. You want them liking you. Before we finish, there's another sidebar to that story, though, that I think people probably know, but you should tell us again about someone you met that night at a small little cafe.
Oh, the mystery man. So we have this moment.
Because I consider that, Lowell, a divine moment, those little things. At our little 5 acres, and I'm journaling, and this is something I've learned that I don't know if it's I think it's in your book, but I've started to, when we bought this 5 acres, I started to journal all those little things that let me know that I was on the right path. I had chosen a good map this time. And would you consider this encounter with that particular person one of those moments? Have you had some of those? I call them divine moments.
Once again, I've cycled the length of Japan.
Yeah.
And I've had some interesting encounters. But on the bicycle, you kind of cruise in and cruise out. With a boat, you often come in and stay a while for whatever reason, weather or repairs, or you're just tired. So you get a chance to know people better. But there's been so many people I've met, Japanese people, solo sailors I've learned so much about. A guy who's sail runs sail. So he sails around Shikoku, then runs to the temples on the 88 temple pilgrimage. There's Katz, the strawberry farmer in Miyaken, who found me on Instagram, and he almost begged to come and see me, and he just brought tons of strawberries, and he drove me all over the place. But on this occasion, I was stopped by the Coast Guard, then coming to Tosa Shimizu. Then I go looking for the kind of the smallest, cheapest bar I can find to get some yakitori. And I go into this bar with 4 seats. 2 are occupied. One is cargo freighter chef, and the other is. And at the time, I thought he was the captain of that boat. And I can't 100% say that, but he's connected with the Coast Guard. And as soon as I walked in, he knew everything. That I've been stopped at sea, my radar, my papers. I'm going around Japan, and then he suddenly disappeared, and then he rushed back. I should have had it, and then brought me a Coast Guard T-shirt. And he says, "Next time we stop you, wear this." So, and he became an old friend. And then the next day, he took me on a driving tour.
Beautiful.
Around the Cape, and we climbed the summit of a mountain. And speaks hardly any English, and that's why I have to. I'm not 100% sure what his position is in the Coast Guard, but he's Coast Guard, and he knew everything when I walked in the bar who I was.
Yeah. Would you consider that a divine appointment, a marker experience? Something that happens in life's letting you know, hey, you know what, Lowell, you're on the right track. Keep going. It's
serendipity, and I think spirituality is like a jack in the box. You go through the mundane things of life, turning the handle of whether it's bicycling, you got to keep bicycling, sailing, you just got to keep moving and tweaking the sails, going to work every day. But occasionally there's those moments where a moment of enlightenment or something of spiritual texture pops up. You realize, I'm not alone. There's, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to persuade people of any particular kind of faith, but there's something beyond us that sometimes we can touch and we can see. So Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been journaling, and again with our little quest, which is not near as grand as yours, but just as we've taken this big plunge, Tracy and I won't bore the viewers, but just time after time in my journal, this, and this, it's like life's just saying, yeah, you know what, you got a good map this time, you got a good horizon, and keep going there. And I hope that makes other people think about that as well. Anything else you want to add? I want to ask, give a shout out to Big John as well. I think I met him in Nagoya.
You did meet you met Big John.
You and I did that
Loved by everybody.
You and I did that 50-kilometer walk to raise money, because you always do adventures with purpose. I think we raised $8,000 or $9,000. You very wisely had the Starbucks at the 25K mark so we could get caffeinated. And that's where I met John. And my daughter Bethany was there for her 15th birthday. And she walked 15K that day to celebrate 15 years.
Yeah.
And
Big John came and met that day.
that's the Big John you're talking about. Yeah.
And James Hedden was also walking with us that day. And I know James leads the organization called Santa and Friends in Nagoya. And John was Santa every Christmas. And so it's a sad day for all Nagoyaites who in the expat community, and many Japanese as well. Yeah. So and right now my friends in Nagoya are celebrating his life.
And again, and so those moments need to motivate us, like you said, to live our lives, pursue the horizon, and make it count.
So we've just been asked, where am I heading for the rest of the year? Well, I'm cruising Japan, and I'm now heading to Oita, and I've got to take in Oita. That's in Kyushu. Take the boat out of the water for another JCI inspection, and then I don't know whether I'm going to go to Osaka and back on the Seto Inland Sea, or I'll go north to Hokkaido and then back down, or I may drop around the other side of Kyushu to Okinawa. What I'm learning with this is that with sailing and cruising, you have to live with a huge measure of uncertainty. Mm. And as an old sea dog told me last year when I was looking at his boat in Phuket, Candy and I flew there to look at this Catalina 42-footer. And the guy said, when you sail, you can tell people, I'll be somewhere at some time, but you can't tell people I'll be at that place at that time. And so I don't know.
And will you go all the way around Japan, or just as far south as you can, then back north?
May do. I'll depends on wind and waves and opportunity.
And what's the farthest offshore you've been so far for your offshore training?
I was about 100 miles offshore.
What was that like?
It was in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
And busy shipping, and some moments there of fear and some moments there of just magic.
Yeah.
As well. But it was after that voyage where I realized the boat and I weren't ready. And in some ways I had a Nemo North moment there.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm having lots of Nemo Norths.
Were you out of sight of land at that point, 100 kilometers?
Yes. Yeah, it was nighttime, but I was out of sight of land. You're out of sight of land at, well, it depends on how high the land is, of course. But line of sight's about 20 miles, 25 miles.
So what is your plan then for your offshore training before we wrap up to get out? Well,
doing what I'm doing, I need to get the permit to go offshore. Hence, I'm taking the boat out of the water, and I still want to spend several days at sea, on my own. Some people say I should be training on somebody else's boat that are experienced. I see the reason for that, but I decided I want to train on my boat and learn how to sail her.
And on the safety side, do you give yourself safety talks during the day before you make sure you got your life jacket, whistle, EPIRB, all that stuff? Is that part of your program?
I have the checklist. I have the checklist, and inevitably I forget one.
As long as you got a whistle, that's for sure.
But an old a sailor, a very experienced solo sailor offshore in Misaki, told me, a Japanese guy, and I said, "What advice do you have for me?" And he said 3 things, and maybe this is a good one to end on.
Okay.
He said 3 things. My advice to you is, number 1, don't fall overboard. Number 2, stay calm. Number 3, always remember you're doing what you dreamed of doing. So when things are tough, remind yourself, I chose to be here. And I'm doing my dream.
Keep dreaming out loud, brother.
Okay. Hey, and thanks everybody for watching. And Brent, you're an inspiration to me, always have.
Likewise.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't wait for you to come and see us, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, and thanks to Tiffany who organized this 2-location YouTube. It wasn't easy, and she sorted all out, has been managing behind the scenes, and she's in the movie business just like you and just like my son Mackenzie.
I'll finish with my favorite quote: "Climb high, climb far. Your aim the sky, your goal the star."
Okay, and my favorite quote, Paul Valery: "The best way to realize your dream is to wake up."
Ooh,
and,
I like that.
Big shout out to Ryan and Maria and Eli too. Ryan's leader of my shore support team, and Mackenzie's company MacFilm have enabled all of this to happen from a legal point of view too.
What's that one say?
Oh, and then now, and I just thank you, Maria, and Johny Gwin. Now I'm just reading all the quotes. Johny showed up at my boat last August, and he scrubbed decks for me, and then he's gone on to get his own boat, and he with another patron, he's become a patron of Pacific Solo, and he, along with Robin, had their first passage to Oshima Island, and they had dolphins. And I've been to Oshima as well, solo on my boat. And Maria, what a precious daughter-in-law. She's like my own daughter. So I'm grateful for all my family. I'm grateful for all my patrons and sponsors, my shore team, all my subscribers. Pacific Solo is not solo. It means a lot. And at that point, I should probably stop boring people.
Omedi Dogozaimas, big brother. Keep going. Congrats.
And please go to nevertoolateacademy.com and sign up, and I'll send you the free course. Arigato.
All right. Namaste. Thanks, Tiff.
Thank you.